Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Today we are only going to talk about the case management in Pega, which consists of we are going to create a new application. And these are the Pega related terms that we will see because these are required in creation of this application. Like what is the rule? What is the rule type? What kind of validations we have? And we will design a case lifecycle and we will add the stages, processes and steps. And we will also configure some class and class group and we will try to add some instruction to an assignment. We will see what is an instruction, what is an assignment and how can we update the case status and how can we configure the child case for a parent case type. This is our today's agenda and we'll try to cover as much as we can. If nothing is, if you're not able to complete today, we can wrap it up tomorrow. Let's start with application only. Yesterday we discussed, right? We have to purchase a base product from the Pega. After that, if we don't want to build something from the scratch, we can go for some frameworks. On top of that, we can build our application. Base application we are already using. That is a cloud version. That is a community edition we can use from the Pega. After that, next thing that we have to see is what kind of application we need to create. Either we create a framework application or we can create an implementation application. Now, what is the difference between both of them? Framework. We can understand it through the name itself that it is a framework which can hold the reusable codes. And implementation is it contain the code for each application and it can either be built on the base product or the framework. If you remember this chart yesterday, this is a kind of a framework that we can create. Our implementation is this one. Both we can do as per the business requirement. Suppose if we are developing something for the first time for a company, then framework is a better option because the usable parts, the reusable configurations, for example, let's suppose there is an Active Directory which exists that across the application is same, right? Those things we can either maintain at the framework layer and organization layer because those will not change. And if they will change for everyone, for all the applications which is having at the top layer. Same way with this logic itself, we are going to create our application. Now, this is the application which we are going to create, that is a life care insurance. Let's suppose we have an organization that is life care insurance which has a claims department. For claims only, we are going to create an application. Let's jump on to I'll switch to the Dev Studio. We can create application either from App Studio, Dev Studio, both are same. We'll go to application. You have to remember these and navigations like in order to create the application where we have to. Now we can click on New Application. This is the first game where it asks you, what type of application do you want to build? Suppose if you could have implemented or added some frameworks, it can provide us those options also. But no framework is there because it's a free version. It is giving us an option that you want to build from scratch. We'll set this continue. Now the UI architecture. Pega supports these two UI, traditional UI and the Constellation. The one is a React.js based. Another one is a combination of everything, all the UI changes. We'll go with the traditional UI. Now it is asking for naming your application. It is like the same thing when we create a project in Android Studio or any other IDs. Live here. Now, if we click on this create application, Pega will directly create it, but we want to see some advanced configurations also. There it is asking what kind of application structure we want to create, a framework or implementation. If someone will understand the meaning for both of them, then only they'll be able to decide, because the application form will happen on for the first time. And usually this is created by a lead system architect, because once the application is created and people start building on it, it has never changed. We can't update it. There is no rollback for this one. For now, we are going to create an implementation application. Application ID, we can say Live Here app, because first time we are creating this. We'll keep the version as 010101. This is the initial version. Let's say my organization is, I'll give something like what we can do, LRK or some. It's a care organization division. We are going to create claims. We don't have any unit, but if I want to explain you something about unit, for example, let's say HR, the department, right? R is a division inside HR. We have the onboarding, right? We have some, you can say, payroll. What other departments comes under? The HR will be the unit names, but for now we are not creating any unit. This is our organization structure. Now the class layer, how many classes we need? We will have one organization class. We have one application class, and this is a by default class which will be added irrespective of your any change. Pega adds it every time. We will see why it is added and what is the use of this one. I'll save this one. Let's click on Create Application. By the time it is getting created, I want to show you this part. Whenever an application is created, there are certain things which is created by default. For example, a source code, right? Different kinds of sources were created. For example, rule sets are created. We'll see what rule sets is. An enterprise class layer is created. Some organization instances got created and a product rule got created. Right. What is a rule set? Rule set is used to hold the rules, and it also helps to package the rules. Rules is nothing but a source code. For example, in Java, we have to use methods, we need to use classes, and we call that as a source code. In Pega, we call source code as rules. Everything is a rule. If you see a text, that is a rule. If you see a UIP, that is a rule. That's why we have to save those rules or source code somewhere that in future we can package it and we can also move it to the higher environments and we can save those source code into the rule sets. That's why we are saying rule set is used to hold the rules and it also helps to package the rules. Next is rule set comes under an application. Whenever we create an application, rule set will be created by default. Therefore, Pega by default create these two rules set to application rule set and organization rule set. We will find two care rule set and two life care rule set. Even if you create any other application, Pega will again create two rule sets only. That also we will see why we are only creating tools at level 321. This is the class structure. For example, because we have selected organization layer and the application layer, there will be two classes. One is data class, other one is interclass under the organization level, and we will have work dash data dash inter dash under the application layer. Now data dash, like we can understand through the name itself, that this is going to hold the system of record or the organization level data. For example, logo policies, active directories, user detail, employee detail, the policy detail, whatever the product we are maintaining, that will not change across the applications. That will come under the organization class data class. Interclass contains the integration details. Suppose I'm using a third-party system to fetch the policy details, right? Suppose because I'm insurance company, right? I am issuing some term insurance. The term insurance is maintained by some third party. If I need to get the status of that policy, I need to configure integration in Pega and the third party system. All the rules, all the source code which I will create for this integration, I'll keep it in the organization class because for the usability, because those integration will not change. Whatever is the base that we have to create inside the organization layer only. And let's say application class there now. For example, the form which we are showing to the user to enter the details, right? That will change in future. Suppose for now they're asking to give only first name, middle name and last name, but in future they might ask, I don't want middle name, just remove it. If they put it in the organization layer and if it removes that middle name from organization layer, it will impact everything. It will impact all the applications. Right now we have only one application, but in future we can add multiple applications. As we have seen this one, we can add multiple implementation layers. For now, we are only adding one because we are adding the integration, the policies, the logo and everything on this organization layer. This one. Any implementation built on this thing will use the same thing. We can say all the application related rules we are going to create on the application layers, work data in and all the organization related rules, which will not change. Those will create in the organization layer. Along with that, when we create a new application, Pega create organization instance which contain organization, division and unit instances. And this is the product rule. This is a by default product tool which is provided by Pega, which we can use to export the application and move it to the higher environment. This is the first screen of my application which you just now created, which says LiveCare. Here itself, you can see LiveCare is coming. It is a development environment, which version we are using. And currently we don't have any personnel because currently I'm the only one logging right. There is only one user person. Channel. These are the default channel that Pega provides, the user portal which we're using for now, then mobile application and some default APIs. No case type is there, no data type. It needed data object is there. All these are empty. This is a kind of a sample application. Now we will quickly see the things which Pega creates. Now we can go to configure application development preset action. In the recent actions, you can see what are the updates happened in the recent times. For example, you see about 8 minutes, about a minute ago, one rule name is created, LiveCare application. 8 minutes ago, LiveCare app. These are the rules and types, and these are the rule name, and these are the rules set. Right? These are the multiple rule types that Pega accepts. Access rule name application class, persona, product routing table, rule set version, and skin. And these are the rules which Pega creates by default. The classes, integration classes, where we will save our integration rules. Data classes, right? And all those. These are the stuff Pega creates by default. This will save our time. Now we can go to this configure definition. This is our empty project here. You can say for now, like an Android Studio. This is our application definition. We call this form as application definition form. This form contains many tabs like definition, case and data application with our documentation, integration, security. Now you see built on application. For now, whatever you see, the colors, the UI, everything is coming from this thing themes, Cosmos. This is the built on application. That means when we purchase the Live from Pega, Pega used to provide a built on application like a base product. This is the base product. After that, we have section called enabled components. Now components are nothing but small application that we can use for certain features. For example, let's say for integration, only have you heard about Jira. Let's suppose the Pega wants to connect with Jira for the stories. What we can do is we can create a component from Jira itself and we can add a component. Whatever the configuration is that directly we can use from here. We don't have to build it separately because Jira board is already there. We can directly develop a component module. That's it, and we can add it. Whatever the features we have in the Jira, we can use it on the Pega application. Then we have the presentation, which is a skin rule. Skin rule decides what kind of colors, what kind of design, what kind of CSS class we are going to show. If I open this one everywhere, you will find only those things. First is the things which are coming through the product, like the base application. And second, the options where you can add your rules. For example, you see, these are my formats. This is empty because this is first time I'm creating this application. That's what you're showing. There are no custom formats for this component kit. But if I go to inheritance, you see this is inherited from the Cosmos skin. And if I enable the Cosmos skin is nothing but again the default provided skin root product. You see, many things are already there, because these are things which Pega provides us. And these are the CSS code. These are the classes or the style sheet that Pega provides us. And we can reuse them. We can copy some codes from here and we can write our own. This is the application rule alias which we are using to log in. This is the one. If you want to change, we can change it from here. Then advance. We have some production tool set. We'll not touch this one. This will be a part of our SACSS basically. Development project. This will also be important touch because this is going to be part of CSS. Now we'll come to the application tool set. Always, Pega will create one normal application tool set and one integration application tool set. Same way, one organization normal tool set, one organization integration tool set. Suppose let's take example of Java. In Java, suppose I'm writing a code, right? I'm writing loops and all. What we call that coding? We call that a source code, right? Then when we complete a module, suppose I'm building functionality. Once my code is completed, I saying my source code is complete and somewhere that source code is saved. Correct. In Pega source code, we call it as rules, and the place where we are saving that source code, we call it as a rule set. For example, I'll again take this skin rule. I'll go to styles, additional styles. This is our Cosmos skin. Let's suppose this is the source code, right? All this is a code. Now where actually it is stored? It is stored inside this rule, set tema cosmos 0 folder 101. And suppose if I love all these things, all these CSS files are saved inside the same rule set, this one. It is very easy for me to export it because I can simply export this rule set. This is the rule set. Let's say in this rule set we have 4 versions 01, 01, 01, 2, 01, 3, 4. These are the rules. Suppose inside the ZO1 you have created 706 years and 6 to 5 source code. In ZOO I have created 9 to 6 source code. Now I can package this whole rule set and move it to the higher environments. Deciding the rule set and deciding the right class, that is the main objective here. That is exactly that because we know what rules. That is, that it will hold the rules. We know what rule is. Rule is a source code, but the main fact is we have to decide the right rule set, where actually we have to save the right class which we have to select. That is the point where we have to focus today. This definition, why still good? Second time is case and data. Currently, yes type is not created, nothing is coming, and I don't want to confuse you more on this part because I'll come back on this. Once we start up case creation application, basically if you want to create new application directly within the application, that we can use this thing, because currently I went to this live care and I created new application like this, right? But if you want to create another application within the application, then you can get it from here. Then documentation purpose, we are using these things. These are not required. Then for integration, we have the separate tab. For example, if there is Agile Workman, this is the bigger provided. A company like Jira is not for Pega. Pega has her own thing like Pega Agile Studio and Pega Agile Workbench. We can directly link it that you don't have to go back to Jira to write the stories. Within the Pega, within the development itself, you can write the stories. And these are not much useful here because integration, we have a separate big rules. Now security and security. We can lock the application that no one can change it. Right? But if this is open source, then any developer can go to anywhere and they can update the version. They can delete anything. We have to keep the application secure by adding the password and what are the authentication services required to access the application. Content policies. Like if there is any policy, like the organization is following, that we can give you see the production level development currently on the development department. These are different environment we are having. In the future session, I used to call rules rule set, data class, work class, end class, product rule. Because if you're not going to familiar with these terms, it will be very difficult for us to relate what exactly we're talking about. Till now, we understood what is a rule set. What is a rule? What are the default application rules like rules per source code, which is created when we create a new application. And I'll show you one thing. I'll go to records organization. You see chaos is created. You see, this is the kind of instances with everything you see. Either rule and always you will find it inside a rule set somewhere. For example, this organization rule is inside care rule set because Pega created. Pega knows where exactly we have to save. Same way, we have created one division. This one cares. The main agenda is we have to find the right class and the right rule set because currently everything is created by Pega, right? We are not creating anything from our side. But once you start creating things, we have to think of it that way. And exactly we have to paste that certain UI piece, certain data models, certain data objects like that. Now rule. We already understand what rule is. Rule is a source code. What are the rule types? Rule type is like a category which will hold individual rules. For example, rules can be of user interface, right? We can have some decision rules, some integration rules, reporting rules, UI rules, like you want to create a table. If you want to show fields, for example, you want to build a form like a Google form. We have the names, we can put address, we can put zip code, we can put phone numbers. Whatever are the UI things we have, the UI elements that will come under the user interface rule type. Decision rules. For example, you are building a logic. Again, I'll take sample of, let's say, e-commerce, right? Because you can relate to the e-commerce much better. Suppose when you are making a very big purchase, let's say you are purchasing something of $1 billion. In those cases, some exceptional approval is required. For that, you can create a decision rule because that automatically check if the cost is greater than $1 billion, then it will go for the approval. But if it is not, then it will directly flow. It will not need any approval. Wherever these decisions we have to make, decision rules are required. We have a separate rule type for this one. Now we have the integration rules. Now again, integration is of various types. I'm not sure if you have worked on this one. Like we have some REST APIs, we have SOAP APIs, right? We have service REST, service SOAP. Now we have the reporting tool. Reporting tool, as in whatever we're building, whatever the forms we are submitting, we have to build a report, right? Because the end user or the highest stakeholder, the management basically, are not going to go to the application and check the individual cases. They need a report. How many cases got created for that particular day? How many employees are working on the which cases, right? What are the priority tasks which are pending? For reporting purpose, we have a separate category that has a reporting rules rule type. Now organization rules. It contains the organization-wide changes. For example, if you want to introduce any new employee, or let's say if you want to introduce any new operator who can access your application, you have to create a new operator ID that you can create through organization rules. If you want to introduce, any division, any work group, if you want to change the calendar of that application, that those changes will happen through the organization rules. Then security. Security, as the name suggests, if you want to enforce some security levels on that application, like who can access your application, if password is needed, what kind of authentication profiles you want to configure, and authentication as in all kinds of authentication options or custom basic token profiling privileges, all the security modules you will find inside the security rules. Then data model. Data model is because when you create an application, definitely you will create a form. You will ask the user to enter something. When the user will enter, we will save those details. Where exactly we will save those details into the data model. For example, you need a text field, you need a text area, you need some radio button checkbox and map value, some maps you want to show. You want to embed videos, audios. These are the data models. These are the rule types. Application definition is a rule type. If you expand, they will find what are the different rules come inside this application definition. Data model is a rule type. What comes under this one? These things. Decision is a rule type. Decision I explained right. For example, if the cost is about $1 billion, then you need a separate approval. We can use decision rules. What kind of decision rules Pega supports? Adaptive model case match collection, constraint decision, data decision table. When rule like we have some loops, we have loop right for each. For each, we have when for. All these things will come under that decision. Then integration. Suppose you want to create Pega, support these kinds of integration. Connect Risk, Connect Robot, Connect SAP, Connect SOA, Connect SQL, Connect HBase, Connect Cassandra, Connect CMIs. And we can also create if there is anything which is missing. Now integration mapping we have. All these integration will come under the integration rule type. Organization, I explained you right. If you want to change the calendar, if you want to check the division, if you want to introduce a new operator, if you want to update organization, the work group work, you will see later. This is organization. Processes category report is a category security. You can see these, what kind of security you can enhance. Like you have access control policy access, deny access group access when application ID authentication profiles. All these things. Some comes under that security rule type as sysadmin, technical and user interface. Inside user interface, we have the control, guided tours, harness, navigation, paragraph, portal section and scale. These are the different rule type Tiger supports, and whatever the application we are going to build, we are going to use these rule types and these rule values only. Now we are going to create our first case type. What we are going to do? We are going to use this one. Let's say again, it's a business process. We can assume life care insurance as an insurance company. And I want to submit my application in life care insurance. Life care insurance company has a process, certain process that they're maintaining for the enrollment. What that process is, we have a start after that. First, I'll fill out an application. Once I'll fill out that application, I have to submit that application. Is my application eligible? If it is yes, then the credit check team will process that application. If it is not eligible, then they will say you are not eligible and they will notify me either via email or through a text message and they will not enroll me. After the process, they will verify my credit history. Then they will check, is my credit history satisfactory? If yes, then they will approve my application and give me an insurance ID. And otherwise, if my credit history is not good, then they will reject my application. If you see, we are taking decisions at two places. At this one, if I am eligible or not. Right. When I'm saying I'm eligible or not, I'm saying on certain basis, right? Either my salary is not that I can enroll for this one, or there is something which is not going with respect to the organization policies which I'm not entering. They will reject me. This is the place where the decision rules will come into the picture. Here also, I'm just checking, is credit history satisfactory? If it is true, then they will approve my application. Otherwise, they will reject it. The same thing. Now we will build in Pega. Now suppose if I want to break this whole business process into small module, can I say from start to submit application and this collecting details? Because filling out application, submitting application is basically related to the details only. I can call it as collect details. Now this check, because whatever is happening in this area, basically in this one, we are checking for that user data, basically like verifying that person is eligible or not. I can call it as a credit check. If you want, you can be able to anything. It just we need a separate identifier. Now the third one, this is approval or rejection. Only one of these things will happen because either you will be approved or you reject it. I divided this whole business process into 3 names. The first process is I will collect the user data. In second phase, I'll do a credit check of the person. And then third phase Either I will approve or I will reject. That's what the business process is. Right? Now we are going to build the same thing in Pega. Case type is nothing but a journey that will start from one case and will end at another. That's why it is showing case type and we call it as a case lifecycle. Lifecycle means it is starting from one point and ending at the last point. That is what a lifecycle means. Let's say I'll create one case type. I'll keep this name as insurance. I'll stop. It is like the same thing. First, we create a project in Android Studio or anywhere. That is an empty project. Inside the empty project, we can add as many functionalities as we want. For now, we created an application, LiveCare, but inside LiveCare, because LiveCare is nothing but an organization. Inside the organization, we can build anything. We can build insurance. We can build a HR department application. We can create a timesheet, approval timesheet, entering leave apply functionality, anything. For now, we're just going to focus on the insurance. The best thing about Pega is that if I never give it anything, Pega will create at least some of the rules for you. There won't be any scratch item. You see, when I created this one, I got this screen. This is a case lifecycle. You see, lifecycle is there and case lifecycle. Now what I'm going to do? Before I go further, I want to introduce 3 more names to you. The Pega terms. That is, yes, I want to introduce these 3 things to you. Stages, processes and steps. This we call as a stage. Even you see here plus stage. I can add as many stages as I want. Right. Now you see the below box. It's a process. And inside the process we can add steps. If we can take this one, a create is a stage, create is a process and create is a step. Correct. Now if I come back to my flow, once I categorize or I divided this whole business process to these 3 stages, because if I can say, if I collected the details, the date check is done and approval is done. That means my business process is completed, right? And a person is flowing basically through these 3 stages. I'll enter these things. Collect detail is the first stage, create check is second stage, and approval is the third stage. I'll give collect detail. Collect details on first stage. Second one is first stage. And third one is approval. Now stages were completed. Now we have to decide the process. Exactly. Inside, collect details. Suppose you have to capture different type of details. Right. Suppose I'll give in first name, last name. Enter personal details. Then what a step is, suppose if I give like, enter details. Inside the collect details, I'm only giving enter details. Now first step is, what kind of details? That's a personal details. Second step, let's say I'll add just anything, maybe like educational details. This is a step. Basically, if you see I completed this particular stage, I'll tell you one scenario. Suppose this approval right. Suppose I created $1 million case and it went to the approval. Suppose it went to you, but suppose you are on leave. Correct. That means you are not going to approve it, right? At that time, what we can do? We can create some multiple process at the same time. And that same approval will be routed to 3 people at the same time. And whoever is available, they can approve. And if any one of them will approve, the case will be completed. It's not like we are waiting for anyone to approve it. It's like whoever is available, they have the priority, they can approve it. This is like we can do. Now you can say this is the structure that we are building. After the structure is done, then we will go inside this and we will add the things, because when we are talking about personal details, like what personal details exactly is, it is like your name, your date of birth, your address. Those things also we have to embed right somewhere. Then only we can set the personal details. For now, I am just adding just a label. I am adding right. Similarly, let's do a credit check. I'll rename this. Cloud is always low. You see, when I click on step, Pega support various types of step. Is it a collect information step, approval reject step, multi-step form? But I'll go with collect information only. Even if you want custom, we can create. But as I'm saying, Pega is a low code, right? Pega will give you template for everything. You can extend it as per the requirement, but a base template is always there. Verify detail. In credit check, we will verify the details. And then in approval, we will do approval reject. Approve insurance. Or I will delete this one from here. Education is not required for this one. We just want to keep it simple. And you see this approval rejection is there. This is why, because in approval definitely there are 2 choices. One is approved and one is rejected. If I approve, I can say my case is completed. Right. That means completed as in resolved completed. That means the case is resolved with a completion. But suppose if it is rejected, then what will happen? Then business have to plan something right. Either they will send an email or they want some missing detail, like the person can again read the documents and then re-update the information. For that we have this approval rejection different stage. And we call it as an alternate stage. You see, here all alternate stage is not coming because this is primary path. When you create a case, it will flow through collect details. It needs check and approval. But at this approval insurance, if you are rejected and it's not a primary flow right, you're rejecting in from a step, then you will jump onto this path because you're rejected. If you want to add anything, for example, I will add email. I want to send an email that you are rejected. I will go to automation. Again, terms are new for you. That's fine. You will be habitual to them. Data point of time. Send email. rejection email. This will also be renamed reject. I'll save it once. You now can see our flow is complete. Correct. Collect details. We are starting application. We fill the application and will submit it. The collecting details, personal details will capture everything. Now in the second create check, what we'll do is the application eligible. Yes, this part we will add. Is the check available? Process. This we have to add inside the process ticket. Any. Now I'm going to open this process one by one and I'll show you when we add anything here. What I will do, suppose I added this enter details. This you see here it says configure process. That means if you want to modify this thing or whatever will come on this. But that change, you have to go to this process. This is the flow diagram that will create for us. They always be a start shape. There'll always be an end shape and whatever you add in between, that will come. This we call it as a process. This is the process. And this one is a step. Because if I go back and show you, you see enter detail is the process, right? And personal detail is the step. If I go back again, you can see inside that stage we have a process. That means this is a process which contains start, shape, assignment and shift. And assignment is nothing but our step. We usually call it. We can either call it as a step or we can call it as an assignment. Because this is the kind of thing where manual intervention is needed. We have to assign this to someone because end user need to sit and fill this form. That's why it's an assignment. Same way, if I want to see the backend configuration for the credit check, I can open this process. It says start shape, end shape verify. But suppose I want to include a check here. I can go to this. I can click, right click. I can add a decision. Because it's not like I'm always going to complete the check. I need a certain condition. Let me open the process. And only I can update it. Now I will add one decision shapes. I'll open the ship. I'll name this one as credit check completed and question mark because I don't know whether it is yes or whether it is no. Now this one I'll point to here. This I'll take back. I'll take it. Suppose this is 2 arms now. When I say if your credit check is completed, right? Let's say if credit check is completed, I'll give this is passed. Then I will end this and I will go to the next stage. This basically means this particular stage is completed. And this one is failed. Suppose if the case is failed, I need something right. I need something to do when it is failed. What I can do is what we can do. We can move it to the previous stage. Or we can again move it to here verify details. Or we can do a change stage. Let's do automations. To a state. These are the complex shapes. I'm just adding to show you how to basically play with this one. How do you know what are the different shapes available on all those things? You will anyways learn once you start exploring these things. If you see, whatever these options are coming out of the box. These are the things which you can directly start using and implementing. Suppose you want to create a PDF, right? You can use this thing. This one. You can use this one, but suppose you enhance that PDF because Pega will create a PDF of certain type. But suppose if you want more data, more detail, different type, you can enhance it. If you want to send an email, you can use this shape. If you want to sign a document, you can use this one. If you see these automation, all these are in yellow color, right? And these have a separate function. For example, this is to update a case. This is to sign. This is to, for example, to send email, generate document. This is a Word document basically. Generate document is a Word document. Doesn't have any name. That means it can be customized to any extent. It is like a fresh, it is like a fresh paper. You can write any kind of code. Source code would be Java. But you are not going to do that Java code that much rigorously. Pega will do the Java code in the back end. We have to use certain terminology, certain methods. Java code will be done by Pega itself. For example, when I'm adding this verified details, right, I'm not doing any code correct. But in the backend, Pega is doing that code for us. That also we'll see, like when you're adding anything Pega at the same time is doing that code and saving it. This one is done. I'll close this. I'll go back to this stages and steps. You see, I added in the process. The decision is coming here. By default, because I added in the process. You can say this is a small flow which is prepared, where you can enter some personal details. We'll verify your details. Some create check functionality will be there. After that, it will go to approval. And then, if it is approved, we can say it is completed. We can say resolve the case. And if it is rejected, then it will go to this rejection email. Now we have to record this tail. We have to save once. Fresh. Yes, then I think that's it for today. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.